Little tiny cracks in the window, and it hits me right in the eye. It's a little
It's
frustrating.
beautiful. You look good.
That usually doesn't happen until baseball season. But hey, next week we spring forward, so it's going to happen for more shows, just not this one anymore.
There you go. Yeah, Sunday.
There we are. All right, we are live. We'll let a few people come on in, but it is NBA Live Before Lock Sunday, March 1st edition here. We are looking forward to some fun for this being a 4-game slate. A lot of moving parts today with people dinged up. We do have some of the news already, so we know that Fred VanVleet is not going to be playing tonight, which is a shame. I will be playing his direct backup in the Fred Van Elite fan club. If you guys have not yet joined, you want to get into the Awesemo DK league, because that's where I post the Fred Van Elite contest. If you win that contest, it's just $1. We're running 50 today because I forgot to post it. Usually we play 100, pay out 20. And if you win with an Awesemo avatar, you'll get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. If you don't want to wait for that, you can use the promo code Live Before Lock, all one word, and get 50% off any 1-month package. But you'll want to jump in there. We got 14 people joining the contest within 2 minutes, Eddie. It is popular.
It's blowing up.
It is the craze that is taking sweeping the nation here. I want to see if there's 2 spots left, so you guys will want to act quickly. If I would have made it for 100, I would have had to pander too much to get people to fill it. Normally I do 100, but it has all day to fill, and it usually...
I didn't know you had a pandering limitation. I thought your ability to pander was damn near infinite.
Well, it is, but if I'm going to do that, I want to talk about Superdraft, which of course is going to be over at superdraft.io. If you guys have not yet signed up there, use the promo code Awesemo when you make your first deposit. If it's $100, they will give you $20 in super cash, which is available for immediate use into any contest. No salary caps over there. The only thing we have is position requirements: 3 guards, 3 forwards, and a center. Unique scoring and the multiplier. That's what differentiates everybody. I'm going to say LeBron James, 1.15 multiplier over there today. That means he gets a 15% bump, which will be fun considering his teammate may or may not play. So Marc Gasol still out. Fred VanVleet out. Serge Ibaka out. Luke Kennard out. Bruce Brown out. We knew about those today. Thon McCurt ruled out. Still not sure about De'Aaron Fox and Corey Joseph. That is one of our 2 6 o'clock games, so we should have that information. But Joseph dealing with the sore heel. De'Aaron Fox dealing with core injury, adductor, abdominal. I forget exactly what it is, but he's dinged up a little bit there. Paul Millsap, we don't know yet. He is also in the 6 o'clock game. He's dealing with a sprained ankle. We have Alex Caruso. Tweaked his hammy last night. Very sad. At least he played a little more than Jakob Poeltl. And then Anthony Davis, there was an elbow. There was a shoulder. Now it's potentially a knee injury. He played like 3 minutes in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, I don't think he plays. And I think you're on sites that don't have late swap. I think your advantage is to build lineups with the presumption he doesn't play. Is a good jumping off point. And the biggest reason for this is, besides the fact that he has multiple nagging injuries here, I think it's a game he'd like to play, and obviously back in New Orleans, so that's a bit of a wrinkle in my plan here. But he has not sat in a while.
It's been a while.
I think he's played, I'll throw 11 out there as a number, but he's played a significant number of games, reaching to well back before the All-Star break since he has sat, and he's a guy they like to get some maintenance for. And it really is a tale of 2 teams when you have LeBron and Anthony
Last
Davis.
game he sat was January 18th. He had missed 5 in a row there with his injury.
I was my 11 guess. I have to feel like that's about right then. January 18th. I'm going to be a little, well, there's the break in there. I'm going to guess I'm a little under, and it's like 12.
16.
16. Wow. So that is obviously an extended period of games for him to have missed. So, or to have not missed, rather. So none of the plays you would consider in the event you make this move are dead plays regardless, though they are significantly disadvantaged to getting where they need to go. Basically, the Lakers as a team, if you looked at them over the course of the entire year, if you look at games where Anthony Davis is in and plays and LeBron James is in, you get, LeBron's giving you about 55 on average, Brow's a little bit over 50, and then there's a pile of guys at like, you have Avery Bradley and KCP at like 15 and 16, and then like 4 guys averaging 20. Rondo averages about 20. Kuzma averages about 20. Dwight Howard averages about 20. JaVale McGee averages about 20. So it's really hard, 20 not being very good. 30, even at anything but minimum price, usually not really good for you. So it ends up being appropriately treated as sort of a two-man team a whole lot of nights. If you extrapolate that out for the, I wouldn't really be extrapolating. If you instead look at a data sample of Anthony Davis out, for example, or Braun out, but we use Anthony Davis out because it brings the centers more into play. You suddenly get a team full of guys who are pretty good to very good on average at price tags around 4K. You end up with about 30 average a game for Rondo. Even when just Anthony Davis is out, he goes up there. He's even better when LeBron is out, but when Rondo is out, when Brow is out, Rondo picks up some steam. Kuzma most notably picks up some steam. He gets over 30, and JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard all of a sudden average about 30 fantasy points a game. So difficult to endorse any of them if you think Anthony Davis plays, but on a 4-game slate where we're always hunting for some sort of an edge, overexposing myself to Kuzma, McGee, Howard, Rondo, even again, who more than the others still carries some sort of upside in a pace-up matchup. I guess some Rondo revenge if you want some of that. Plenty. Anytime LA plays New Orleans, there's going to be plenty of revenge.
Every direction.
There's like 8 guys. 6. I got 7 off the top of my head. Maybe I'm missing one, but and I'm kidding about that. If Rondo had a revenge narrative, he would be much better at basketball than he is most of the time, because that's like half the league. You'd be pissed off half the time. De'Aaron Fox says he'll play. Millsap is out, I think.
Millsap's out. Noah Vonleh's out. They just got ruled out.
Okay. So I'm going to like a good bit of Jeremy Grant. So will a lot of people. He was sneaky for me anyway. I was kind of hoping. That's a 6:00 game. So I was hoping that news was at least late, because they've been giving him a very Kyle Kuzma-like situation where he is a natural born 4, but they've been bumping him up to the 3 a little bit and playing large lineups where you would have, Jokic and Millsap, or occasionally Plumlee and Millsap or what have you, but you would have Jeremy Grant sliding up to the 3 for periods of time to try to get him some more playing time. Beasley out of town. Craig can take some of his minutes there. So I was going to be kind of sneaky there because that also, had some back end insurance on being a terrible play, but they're treating him a lot like Kyle Kuzma, where if they don't play him out of position, they're just not going to get as many minutes as they want to get that guy in the court, either for winning games or, more in Kuzma's case, developing that player. Looks like De'Aaron Fox is going to play, so I can take Yogi Ferrell out of my rankings real quick. I will do that while you talk about something. Sorry, Yogi Ferrell.
That name popped up earlier this morning. I'm like, it's been a while since we've seen Yogi Ferrell.
It's been a minute, as we say in the basketball community. Yeah, it's been a little while. So, I mean, I guess if Kojo sits on a 4-game slate with Fox not 100%, maybe I'm leaving him in. I'm downgrading him to double D's until, I know you like double D's, until we get Kojo out as well, but.
Just looking here.
Get Millsap out of there.
In that late game, we're still waiting on Draymond and Jordan Poole, both of whom missed last night.
Pretty big game. Yeah, yesterday was really interesting slate. Went largely according to plan. I am sorry about Devin Booker. I was a big fan of his, and I still can't think of a reason not to be. And he still played, I think, 36 minutes or something like that, and had like a assist, no rebounds or something. He had a spectacularly bad fantasy game. Not a great game either, and they obviously gave it up so sweet to the Suns there. But yesterday was overall pretty good. Obviously, Andre Drummond, 36 minutes. If you'd have told me 36 minutes, I would have gone out and projected the dude for like 59, and he beat that by a few. But yeah, it cannot be long now until Miles Turner starts developing calf cramps when he sees Drummond on the schedule, because sort of the circle of life there between those two, and Joel Embiid. So a lot went pretty well. Wiggins got there. Everyone liked Wiggins. Mulder got there. Mulder played 34 minutes. If those guys are both out again, they didn't start him. So I was surprised they didn't start him, because I thought, but it's also worth pointing out that Damian Lee played the point guard mostly. He played off guard. I thought that they would let Mulder run some significant amount of the offense and handle the ball more. He didn't handle the ball that much. Damian Lee basically played point guard for the majority of that game. If you went back and looked, I don't think Mulder recorded an assist. I'm almost certain he didn't. And Damian Lee ended up with 6-8 or something like that. So Damian Lee did play point guard there. So even if he played again, Mulder fine to use if both those guys are out because the minutes would be there again. But I thought he would get some significant period of time actually, being the de facto point guard there. But that didn't work out. Some other interesting. I'm trying to think.
Did you know that Kevon Looney was 1 away from his career high in assists yesterday?
Yeah, he had three. I want to say. Yeah, it was. They said he would. I mean, I didn't think.
Yeah.
But I feel good because there were several teams where everyone was good. Basically, all the starting Celtics were good. None of them were bad, at least. Obviously, Tatum was exceptional, but Smart was exceptional. But none of the Celtics were bad. The only playable Warrior who was bad, like 6 of the 7 playable Warriors were good. Juan Toscano Anderson was crap. Kevon Looney, I basically said not to play because I thought he'd play. I think I said exactly 15 minutes. He played 15 minutes. Ranked him today if everyone else is out because he's now sitting at the minimum. But 6 of the 7 guys on that team are good. And almost all the Hawks were good. Reddish went out with injury, and Hunter was, they were all good to great. Collins was great. Trey was fine. Porter was very good. So it was interesting. It was a day with a lot of stuff. Trey Lyles was great. Both ends of the court, by the way. Some of the credit for he was really good on Aaron Gordon where he spent. Whenever he got switched on, it was good there. And I liked Aaron Gordon, so apologies for that. 5 shots, I think, in that game for Aaron Gordon. Some credit to Lyles, who did a strong job when he got there and got forced into Pirtle being hurt. That was nominally good. Like, I was low on Reddish. I thought going to Reddish over the other guys on that team was foolish because he came off one big game. He didn't project that differently from Hunter or Porter, so I would have rather gone to either of those guys. That obviously worked out, but that was crap because Reddish got injured. I would have been well lower on Pirtle, and I said that, and he went out for injury also, so can't take a lot of credit there, but that made the direct pivots really good, and Lyles and Rudy Gay got 30 minutes. Neither of 40 for Lyles or 30 for Gay are happening if not for that injury. Brow has something wrong with his knee, which explains only 25 minutes for him. Again, I was concerned with the minutes on LeBron.
Why did they play LeBron so much? They were down like in the mid-teens for most of the fourth quarter. I think he didn't.
They were on a legendary road winning streak.
Oh, okay.
I don't know when they last lost a game on the road. I think it might be like early December. Like they were on a very significant road winning streak. I don't recall the numbers, but I really think that like he did not want to lay down that game. And I was worried about a blowout in Memphis, but I was not worried about a blowout by Memphis. So right. I got that wrong. Also in that game, I said Valanciunas isn't going to go out and get 20 rebounds against the squad, and he went out and got exactly 20 rebounds against that squad. So.
Oh, they had won 4 in a row on the road. They lost in Philly on the 25th.
What was it? In conference, they had some weird thing where they were 18 out of their last. I don't know.
Now that would make sense. They won in Golden State. They won in Denver. They won in Golden State again. It could have been something like a Western.
I can't defend playing LeBron 34 minutes when they have to play tonight, and we know, and I presume they knew at that point, a la Aldridge's shoulder, that Brow is not feeling super wonderful. So yeah, that was about it. Sorry, that's just some shit on the top of my head about yesterday. Caruso was kind of bad, but he got hurt too. So I got very lucky in that I was really down on 3 pieces of sneaky chalk where I was like, look, I think Caruso will go to the starting lineup. His usage will disappear. He'll be bad. Reddish didn't make sense over the other lower owned guys. Pirtle, I was worried about, shooting situations and guarding there, but they all got hurt. So I'm just going to take credit for all that and pretend it was me. So there you go. Let's talk some basketball.
All right. Shout out to Tom. JK is our behind the scenes COO, also the number 7th ranked gamer in the world, 8th ranked gamer in the world, something like that. Got second.
Not gamer. I'm not giving him gamer. He can be DFS player.
DFS player.
I'm not giving him gamer. I'm curmudgeon the old man. Gamer should refer to people who are using cardboard and dice and crap. When y'all play consoles, you're not gamers. If you haven't sat at the kitchen table imagining you're like a half elf illusionist, I don't want to hear you taking that word even. No way, Tom. I'm not giving it to you.
All right, but he took down I think it was 3,000 last night. Got second on the $40,000 jump shot tonight. The jump shot is 20,000. There are 1,000 spots left. We'll talk about a couple plays there. Sean Michael gives us a little shout out, $10 super chat. Says he appreciates us cranking these shows out on the weekend. Let's get that money, everyone.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, yesterday was pretty. I'll take 30 seconds more and talk about something, just because I always want to try to. If you watch a lot of these shows, I want to contextualize what I'm saying a little bit. Most of what I'm doing is leaning towards people who are entering largely tournaments, either multi-entry or single entry. So I try to prioritize what I talk about and how I talk about it based on possibly winning that. So you don't want to be stupid, but you do want to take calculated risks. Andre Drummond is a good example. If you wanted to win it all yesterday, you needed him. So I look at yesterday as a good show, even if I got like half right and half wrong, because I was generally on the guys who won. And conversely, there's days where I'll be like, I don't like this guy, and you needed him to win. And even if I was right about every single other thing, I look at that as a failure because I actively was preventing um, someone from taking it down. I mentioned that because someone was just talking to me a minute ago about like strategy, and I just wanted to clear that up. But yeah,
All right, so let's see here. Let's hit the first two ones since we do have news. Of course, guys, remember we do have that DFS strategy show on Sundays now, 9:30. That is with Josh Engelman and Sal Vetri, the two guys
nice.
that go to sleep before the late slates lock, and those guys are up literally before the Roosters. So thank you to them for not making me and Jake do that show. But Jake and I will be jumping into the rotation there most likely on weekends for baseball, which is right around the corner here. A couple call outs here for Super Draft, some plays, and then we'll jump into the analysis. Andrew Wiggins at a 155 multiplier. He is guard and forward eligible. Probably will be the most popular play on the site tonight. You get Marquise Chris, forward, and I think he's forward and center eligible. He is 1.7. You get Zion Williams, who is at, I think he's 155, and Christian Wood, who is power forward center eligible over there, also gets 1.55. I'm glad they've given a little bit of more flexibility today since there are just four games in the player pool, but they are locking at 6 o'clock. So I have a feeling we might see, if not reduced strike, actual overlay in this contest. So Eddie, kicking it off first, does anything stand out for you in Denver and Toronto? Fun game to watch from a battling standpoint. No Fred VanVleet, no Ibaka, no Millsap. I think Nikola Jokic is kind of interesting, but how do you feel about anybody on Toronto without two of their five starters playing tonight?
Yeah, I would have significant interest in GPPs in a 4-game slate in most of the guys we expect to start for that team. I imagine they start Powell and Hollis Jefferson again as the replacements for Ibaka and Fred VanVleet, who will not suit up just like they did not suit up on Friday. I think these guys do go under-owned a little bit, looking at what we currently have them projected at. I probably... it's not really a great defensive matchup anywhere. I suppose I'm most inclined to go back to Pascal Siakam or Kyle
They are
Lowry.
starting Lowry, Powell, OG, Siakam, and Hollis Jefferson. That came out 20 seconds ago.
Yes, that worked well. So outside of the starters, I'll pivot real quickly and mention that. Let me look at that projected rotation and make sure I'm not skipping anyone I thought might necessarily get there. But yeah, the 5 starters and Chris Boucher would be the 6 players I would have any sort of real interest in for this matchup. I have someone was asking about OG Anunoby. On DraftKings, I have him massively lower ranked than the other 4 starters. I like the other 4 starters in tournaments. They all have A's in tournaments for me. I probably don't want more than one. The tags are very significant, but I have a feeling that RHJ or Powell as decent value plays. If you looked at that Friday game, Norman Powell took, I think he took a few fewer shots than Pascal Siakam, but he put up some high teens, like 20 shots or something in that game, if memory serves. Siakam wasn't terribly efficient, but had a very big role in the offense, and the absence of Van Vliet, raises Powell's upside a little bit as well because of the way they match up. I slightly prefer Siakam, I think, but obviously the spend is significant. No one on this team got an A in cash for me. If I'm building a cash lineup, it almost certainly does not have a Raptor in it. For tournaments, Powell, Hollis Jefferson, Siakam, and Lowry all ranked very high for me. I like Hollis Jefferson. He's getting the start. He's going to play, I think he played 28 minutes in that last game. That's a reasonable guess at where he's going to end up again. He's 4,300. Sort of full stop for me on a 4-game slate, and his ownership will be unnaturally depressed due to being poor in that last game. And there is still a lot of recency bias. We saw it yesterday. We see it every day. So, for cash, I think I have Rondé Hollis Jefferson as a C, but I have him as an A in GPPs. I would rather play. I could list a lot of guys. Jeremy Grant comes to mind first as a much safer cash play for me, but he can get enough defensive stats that can certainly work out. He's a bit of a matchup problem for Jokic. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It is hard for Jokic to guard him in his play style historically. He is not a matchup problem for Jokic. Jokic can do anything he wants. Has historically not been too bad against Ibaka. I would have been fine with that too. But Jokic, I'm fine with as a spend up option. As the news breaks and we find out what's going on with the Lakers, it'll be easier to contextualize some relevant relative to the other plays. But I like Nikola Jokic tonight for what it's worth on the other side of the ball. But you can take some tournament shots at Chris Boucher. Again, I have all the other Raptors ranked with B's or C's in cash and A's in GPPs. I have OG Anunoby as a D in cash and a C in GPPs. He's just too expensive on DraftKings. When he gets down to $4,400 on some site and is like 5% owned, I like taking a shot on him. He has games where he goes off a bit offensively. He can pick up defensive stats. Like almost everyone in this game is a very competent defender. But $6,100 for him, I'm really asking for super special things to happen. So maybe that's a little critical, but it's fair to say, looking at DraftKings pricing, I'm incredibly lower on OG Anunoby than the rest of this team. As far as Denver goes, was already a pretty big Jeremy Grant fan. Now he's going to become much more cashy, so I like him less for tournaments than I would have an hour ago. Most of the in a single tournament lineup, I probably would have Jokic as the guy I'm most likely to get to. After that, I would probably fire the shot on Jeremy Grant still. But if you get after that, I would probably go to Barton before Murray. Barton has looked bad recently since returning from injury, but I expect that to bounce at some point. His ownership will have fallen off because he's been disappointing several times in a row. And while it's not a good matchup for him, it is less a bad matchup for him than anyone else who is out here. He'll see lots of Powell. He will get the easiest way. And on a 4-game slate, I think you get Will Barton at 12% now or something like that. So I would have some interest in getting to Barton. So in one GPP lineup, I probably rank them. I probably would have, and this is rough, it's depend on other things, but I would probably have Jokic, Grant, Barton, Murray, especially on FanDuel, just way too cheap. But DK even at 7,100, which is what the rankings are based on, certainly not out of play on a 4-game slate. You can still play Mason Plumlee. Don't play him with Jokic. That should be a group. That's basically it. Gary Harris is just cash. Michael Porter Jr., even in the last game, which was a 30 whatever point blowout loss to the Clippers, played like 9 minutes. I don't really want to go back there. I either didn't rank him or ranked him obscenely low. Monty Morris went back to being pretty much he's not quite a strict backup to Jamal Murray because of how they run the rotation in there. He usually comes in for Barton and then plays next to Murray for a little, and then Barton goes out. But last game we got him at closer to 22 minutes, which will happen sometimes. You can still go there as there's a pretty solid role for him always. So there's that can happen. But none of the guys in this game are super priorities for me.
All right, so we've got starting lineups for the next ones. Anything else from this game?
Not that I can think of. Hopefully we'll get to questions.
Kings will be starting Fox, Bogdanovich, Barnes, B-Jelly, and Giles on Sunday.
Also as expected.
Pistons will be starting Rose, Svee, Mikhailuk, Snell, Wood, and Henson on Sunday.
Okay, interesting.
Corey Joseph is active.
Okay, well, now you die, Yogi Ferrell. No,
Did you know?
Gotta get him out of there.
That Harry Giles has played in his 91 games. He has played 23 and a half or more minutes. Yes, I cherry picked that, but 23 and a half or more minutes 6 times. 5 of them are in the last 5 games. This is the 3rd game in 4 days, although it is an island game. I just want to point that out. Giles no longer cheap, but he's been dropping 30 burgers there. Let's start off with Giles.
I'd rather play Marquise Chris, though I expect the ownership difference is just fine. So, in a single tournament lineup, I probably still stick with Chris because I'm a bigger fan of that matchup um, by a bit, and I'm a little more solid in the minutes. There's still things that can happen with just Alex Len gets hot. Um, not that Chris is locked in stone by any means, but slightly have just a better projection there. But Len can get hot. Bielitsa, the game can get small as a real possibility, and then you get Bielitsa picking up some time at the 5, who I like a lot, especially at the FanDuel price. I'm a pretty big fan of Monty Bielitsa tonight. Um, but I'm fine with Giles. I'm fairly ambivalent on Giles. He's gonna have some ownership. Um, I'm a big Harry Giles fan. Like, I've been banging on him for a couple of years now. So it's great to see him getting the time. But the price is not insignificant anymore, and he's not super fantasy guy yet. So I'm fairly ambivalent. I would have some Harry Giles. I think he's a good guy in a good spot.
Do you remember the shoes, British Knight shoes?
Yes.
So we have Brandon Knight. So I want to set you up for this one because we're getting a few questions. So the interesting thing I wanted to point out for everybody is Reggie Jackson not on the team. Kennard and Brown are out. That leaves Rose, Galloway, and Knight more or less, depending on how you count Svi and those guys, to handle the point guard duties. Though Rose is essentially backed up by Knight. In each of the last 2 games, they've played about 6 to 7 minutes next to each other.
Yeah, that last game you saw a really nice upside out of both of them. And Knight had a decent role off the bench there. I want to say he took 14 shots in that game. Apparently, you have it in front of you.
About like 13 or 14.
Which gives him the upside. It would be an ownership question for me, so I'll take a look at it. I ranked him fairly well. I do think the matchup is fairly strong to very good for him. I ranked him as a C and a B. Again, this is some ownership bias, much like Cam Reddish was Cam Reddish and things of that nature. Brandon Knight is still Brandon Knight. If he gets that amount of volume, that's good. The matchup, that's good. You would have liked to see Christian Wood out to just free up a little more usage to go around on this team. But I'm again ending up being fairly ambivalent on Brandon Knight. Was a big GPP winner earlier this year, but the price is up. Don't know what he is on FanDuel offhand. That's something that's worth looking at. I think he's like 3,600. That's obviously more appealing to me. 100 over the floor as opposed to 1,100 over the floor.
He is 41 DK, 36 FanDuel, 10 on Yahoo.
Yeah, so 10, cool. 36, cool. I think at that point he just maths out fine and the ownership won't be outrageous. DK, 4,100, I'm a little bit disinclined. I do like Derrick Rose very much. Island game also for the Pistons. Got up to 30 minutes again last game. We can hope to see that again. Obviously, a massive bit of usage missing. I like the matchup. I really like a not 100% De'Aaron Fox in on the other side. 6,600 on DK, ranked a B and an A for me. FanDuel 6,000 probably would have ranked double A's for me. That's a very strong ranking. Someone asked about what I would rank OG Anunoby as on FanDuel. He would probably be a C and a B, I imagine, at that point. He can really disappear and is also very unpredictable for me. So he's going to get a bad cash ranking. 5,000 on FanDuel in a not great position, though it's not too terrible today. I would be well more a fan. And again, being relative to the floor is really the more relevant pricing point. So it says 6,100 on DK and 5,000 on FanDuel. That's really 3,100 on DK and 1,500 on FanDuel. Is a still not perfect because that tax does represent an opportunity cost and an equity. So completely ignoring that is also incorrect. But those numbers of 3,100 and 1,500 are actually a little more mathematically representative of the investment you're making. And even that itself is regresses negatively compared to the size of the slate. There's a lot of crap going on there. But point saying, you shouldn't just ignore the floor differences on the sites. Go with that. You have Christian Wood in, so Sekou Doumbouya is still in play, though not any kind of priority. And it's half past. Let's talk about a better game people want to talk about. I think we covered this. You can John Henson again. You got to start again. You're probably looking at 20 minutes, but DK price exceptionally, perfectly viable piece of value there. Thon McCurr is out, I believe. So, all those guys in the front court feel a little bit better. Christian Wood for me is not a super priority, but the upside is there. Again, the price is significant. I like him quite a bit, but I would rather play Derrick Rose in one lineup. I'll start with that.
All right, setting up the next game. That is the Lakers. We don't have any news for that yet. We've hit on Anthony Davis.
Let's do the other one then.
Okay. Washington, Golden State. The only thing we're waiting on there is Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. I'm guessing Poole's probably out. Who the hell knows with Draymond? If both are out, you go to Toscano.
You go to everyone.
Yeah.
If everyone is out, they have the same 8 players
as they did last night. Yeah, that's the easier way of saying it.
I don't think I want to play Kevon Looney very much. I ranked him. He's 3K flat, and there's only so many viable 3K players, and that opens up unique roster constructions, making those guys somewhat interesting, which is the reason I gave double D rankings to. I would rather play Sekou Doumbouya in a single lineup, but I would rather play Kevon Looney to. I think I ranked at least one other 3 flat. Torrey Craig will play, and at 3,000, I think got a double D ranking from me and something else like that. So, but I'd have Sekou on the top of the list of guys at 3K I'd want to get out there. But yeah, if those guys are out again, Lee should be a priority. Again, he handled most of the point guard. Thank you for the Pool listed probable now.
Oh,
so that's obviously Dre questionable, Pool probable. Okay, so Pool probably immediately makes me want to fade off on the high end of his price range, somewhat expensive Damian Lee.
okay.
Depends where he's going to rank. He is still a point per dollar really strong play, and the matchup is obviously superlative. It's not going to get a whole lot better. Someone told me I'm still playing 100% Damian Lee. I don't really have an issue with that. If both those guys play, that's another feather out of his cap. They'll continue to devote some time to Michael Mulder at that point. So I would then have Lee's minutes projected at 31 instead of 34, which is a relevant difference. But if we think Damian Lee is going to still be very, very strongly owned, he's somewhat shot dependent. And when Poole comes back, Poole plays point guard the whole game. So not the whole game, but a significant part of the game. And so that's taking away from Damian Lee picking up, for example, the 8 assists he did last night, and then it's really possible to game out of him that's 17, 3, and 2, and 5,600 isn't that cheap anymore. So my immediate first reaction to him coming back is, and I'll redo another batch of rankings in a second after I'm done with this particular spiel, is that I suspect Damian Lee would be over-owned at that point. I would want to get to some Jordan Poole. It's, again, going to be an ownership question, but I think he would hold like 10, 11, 12%, and he'd been really consistent and really good. So I imagine Poole himself, who I would project for like 30 fantasy points, and he's at like 4,800 right now. So if Poole comes back and starts, Poole would become a bit of a priority for me. If everyone comes back, regardless, I would rather play Juan Toscano Anderson over Dragon Bender. He, given the same number of minutes, would outscore him like 80% of the time. Dragon Bender is a very bad fantasy player. Now, got in a very nice spot last night. Phoenix team didn't put up much of a fight. Certainly a chance that happens again with Washington. He can splash a few threes, but Dragon Bender is egregiously bad. He's in that TJ Leaf category. If I'll guess career, he's over 0.7 fantasy points per minute, DraftKings points per minute, but I'm not sure. And for like a 7-footer who plays power forward and center, that is egregiously bad fantasy production. So
Tony Kukoc is not.
No, he's not Tony Kukoc.
Kukoc, sorry.
No,
first name that popped into mind that was tall, European, and the next Michael Jordan.
Ooh, Alan Smailagic is listed questionable Sunday. I didn't think that was a possibility at all. I didn't consider him at all.
What do you think the percentage Draymond? Pardon me. What percentage of Draymond would you play on FanDuel with the uncertainty here?
What's the FanDuel price?
I
don't know offhand. I do the rankings by DK, so I end up basically memorizing the DK.
No, I've got my spreadsheet.
He's 68 there. DK
68 DK, 54 FanDuel, 20 Yahoo.
54. Oh my God,
Daddy like.
Draymond did 54 against the Wizards. Like that's jeez. Poole being back hurts it a fair bit. And I will take a second and look at the exact field of power forward players on FanDuel because,
it does matter on the thinner slate.
It doesn't exist in a vacuum. Wood is a power forward. Brow is obviously a power forward. Ibaka is out. Giles is a power forward and only 5K. Hachimura is 48. Jeremy Grant is 48. Bielitsa is 48. Oi. Sorry, I'm trying to guess what the ownership will come in at, and then I can turn around and guess whether or not. My short answer is I think it is a very strong play that will fail most of the time. It is one of those. It's not quite it's riskier than say Drummond last night. He might not play, which is obviously an issue. There are a lot of good players at the price in his position. I mean, he's 5,400. So even if you don't pay up for Brow or Wood or Zion, Hachimura isn't bad. Jeremy Grant, I like a lot. Bielitsa, I like a lot. He's probably going to get like 33 minutes again in a very good matchup with Detroit. He's only 4,800. Eric Pascal is 4,300. If Draymond is out, that's brilliant. You could make an argument that you're looking at a Draymond. You don't have the Draymond upside. Draymond could play 30 minutes and score 56 fantasy points with 11 stocks against this team. That's a real possibility. But my guess is I would have very little. It's again riskier than say Drummond last night, but similar in that there is some uncertainty. Although the minutes floor for Drummond was like 24, and here it's 0. But the investment is less. So I suspect I would have little because there are other GPP plays that I like a lot. You have, I didn't even talk about Rondé Hollis Jefferson, who is 3,700. That's not GPP, that's cash. But you have Chris Boucher at 3,900. I spoke about how that could work out. You have Kyle Kuzma at 4,200, which is absolutely brilliant if Brow doesn't play. In just a fine matchup as well for him. Not quite as good, but a really strong spot. So I don't think I would have much because I can play Kuzma or Pascal as similarly risky, cheaper plays that obviously don't have quite the upside, but are really strong. And then you have, Bielitsa and Grant and even Hachimura and Giles and other guys who are really good in that price. So your answer is, how much would I play? I would have in 150 lineups like 2 Draymonds, I think. I would play very little. I would be in very low single-digit percentages. And I'm a little on the risky side. So that itself causes me to second guess myself because with so many other options, he may be 1% on. So obviously he could take down a monster for you. So I would say you're 22 minutes out. Keep a very, very close eye on it. Although that game itself does not lock for, I believe it's 2.5 hours after lock. But really good question that causes me to, really look at everything that's going on here. But I would have very little because I think there are, you can play Kuzma and he is going to play regardless and have, some significant upside. You can play Pascal, who will play regardless and potentially be a monster again if Draymond is out. Pascal has failed in a couple really nice spots this year, but I'm going to like him low owned with Draymond out. I'd have him at 30 minutes again. He could very easily take 15, 16 shots again. I wouldn't project him for much less, though less with pullback, but not much less. And those prices are a little better. So there's a lot of time on your question. Hopefully that helped.
No, but that's a good one because this all comes down to the game theory. It's a 4-game slate. How are you going to pivot? How are you going to differentiate in the big contest? Yada yada yada. Did you just yada 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 big contests? Why, I did, but I'm not on Superdraft where they have 800 spots left in their $20,000 jump shot, $12 to get in, and it is, let's see, 4,000 to first tonight. Very good. My joke. Did you? I'm sure you saw it. The Jaylen Brown shot to put him into overtime.
Certainly.
My wife was asleep, so I was yelling
my
at the
wife.
TV,
Yeah.
and I was saying, what can Brown do for you? And I tweeted something like that would be a horrible pun that my friends would hate me for, but I didn't word it very well. Twitter did not like me. So
yeah, it's pretty terrible.
It was a bad. Yeah, it was.
It's pretty awful.
It was. Friends don't let friends tweet like that. And
Fox is back, so I don't know how low I want to downgrade Buddy Hield, but they really don't like him. I ranked him tonight. I took the bold stand one night and just did not rank him at all, and people were like, "What?" But I'm.
Nuggets are going to start Murray, Harris, Barton, Grant, and Jokic.
Yeah, as expected. Grant's exceptional on DraftKings. 4,500 is a very good price. There's some better value, but let's take a look at ownership. Oh, no, we got like a game to talk about. Let's do that real quick and then do an ownership.
Absolutely. We've got the I'm sorry, the Wizards though.
Yep. We got to talk to the Zards.
Bradley Beal, pretty good at the basketball. Is there anybody else you're interested in? You know who they could use? Jordan McRae, who just got bought out.
Bought out? He might go back. He was getting time. They liked him. He liked them. Like that was how they had to make that deal work with the various nuances and salary and stuff. But you might see him back on Washington where they'll
early rumors are Phoenix, but why would you want to go to Phoenix?
They're I mean, they have a lot of nice young talent there. That's the back office is crap. Guys I'm really interested in. I like Shabazz Napier quite a bit. The minutes have come down a little bit, but this is a really strong matchup. I think he can take advantage. 4,700, especially on DK. I ranked him as 2As. I don't mind him in cash. Bradley Beal, I ranked as 2As. I don't know. We're 4 games from him missing, 50 fantasy points, and a couple times in there he had 50 points, and ain't nobody going to stop him here. So, I need to look at ownership, but I suspect I slightly prefer Jokic due to ownership, but he's certainly up there as a powerful spend up. I like LeBron a lot at ownership too. I don't think his ownership is as high as it should be. And
do you go?
I think there's a real chance Anthony Davis. Again, the biggest edge I see on this slate right now is playing Lakers not named Anthony Davis, under the presumption he very possibly sits. I don't think, looking at the ownership I saw before, people have quite contextualized the difference between the knee and the other 5 significant injuries he's had, that it cost him minutes last night, that he has played 11 games in a row, that it is on a back-to-back, and he's probable every day. So I think when he came up as questionable, it probably didn't make as much of a wrinkle as it should have. So I would go 60-40 he sits. There's obviously some chance he suits up, in which case if you played LeBron, you're still fine. You lost a little, but you're still fine.
Do you like Ingram or Siakam if you're doing a raw comparison?
I would like Ingram by a raw comparison standard of those 2 players.
What about Beal versus LeBron?
You have to tell me what they're owned. If you just mean by statistical production,
just raw. Like you're trying to build a core.
I think I have them within a fantasy point of each other. They're actually right near my top. So let me reload. This is going to take 20 seconds because I have to change a rotation because he's out. Just a moment. That's there. That's there. And now, oh God.
Reminder, we do start off the week with a early bird podcast that will be recorded later tonight with myself and Chris Randone, and you're going to get the 9:30 DFS strategy show.
I have LeBron for 1.75 fantasy points more than Bradley Beal. So it's going to be site dependent as far as pricing goes. I right now have Bradley Beal as a slightly better point per dollar play, but that will evaporate if Anthony Davis is out. And I suspect, going back to page, that we have Beal projected higher owned by some good amount. On DK, we have Beal 31, Braun 28. So that is less of a differential than I thought. But still, if it's more of a FanDuel thing for me. Like on DK, if Brow is in, then okay, let's just play Bradley Beal and you have some money to play around with. If we have the time to make that adjustment. Sorry, I'm trying to remember which time the games are. That's
an 8 o'clock.
That's the really late game. So yeah, that works. So if Brow is in, then okay, have a Beal plan. If Brow is out, then play LeBron. On FanDuel, I'm saying I don't think LeBron is the ownership he should be. I guess I could just click on this button and
we just got an update. So if you hit refresh, you will find LeBron is 44 on FanDuel.
Okay, well, ignore everything I just said then. That's perfect.
Beal is 45. So
yeah, I still at that point would rather have Braun by a little bit, but he's on a back-to-back coming off. So yeah, I just wasted a minute and a half. Those are all fine. I got nothing. Those are all fine numbers. I'm not gonna. Yep. Nope. You're fine. Move on. All so right. I will renounce my previous comment and say I suspect the ownership, and I'm not going to go look at all of them on FanDuel for Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Kyle Kuzma, Kyle Kuzma, Rajon Rondo are not.
Raul
Julia. I saw him perform like his third from final performance. Not long before he passed away. He did Man of La Mancha on Broadway.
He was a talented son of a bit. Yeah, he was.
He really was.
Yeah.
Great dude. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, stuff. I would be. Let's move on. But I would be overweight on those pieces because if Kyle Kuzma, what is going on?
On FanDuel. If
Anthony Davis sits, I would be very surprised if Dwight Howard, Kyle Kuzma, or JaVale McGee did not put up a very tournament-winning score in this particular matchup. I don't know quite how to prioritize them because it varies a little bit site by site, but they're all right now going to be 8% owned, and that's what I'm saying.
All right, guys. If you do anything, go jump in Super Draft right now. There are 750 spots left in their contest. It's $12. People are not really playing tonight, as it appears, so this is a nice way to get on in there. If you haven't signed up, use the promo code Awesemo when you make your first deposit. If you put in $100, they'll give you $20 in super cash, which you can use immediately into any contest. That'll get you almost 2 entries into this one. So definitely check that out. We'll talk about them in a second. Eddie, FanDuel power forward question. Can you please rank these 3 guys that are the same price? Sure. Grant, Hachimura, and B-Jelly.
I would play Grant in cash. I would play B-Elites in tournaments unless the ownership is something far dissimilar from what I expect. I don't mind Hachimura, but he is really limited as a fantasy player from never getting blocks or steals or really assists. Like, I don't know what his averages are this year. It would be hilarious to look up. He literally probably averages something to the order of 0.2 blocks, 0.2 steals, and 1.2 assists or something. I mean, he is a fantasy black hole out of points. Now, it's a matchup where he could get 28 real points and 9 real rebounds and get you 40 fantasy points. I'm not saying he's a bad play, but I would have him at the bottom of that triumvirate. And keep in mind, there's the nice spend-up options there, and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson is 3,700 on FanDuel, and also a power forward. So Hachimura would be down my list of priorities, but obviously not out of play on a 4-game slate.
0.01 blocks.
0.01 blocks. Yeah, which is really hard to do for a guy playing power forward in the NBA. Like, you have to try to do that. I would average 0.1. Well, maybe not. But, like, that isn't a particularly egregious number.
Davis Bertans averages 0.6 blocks. How do you feel about Bertans in tonight's game? And then
I'd rather go there if I'm playing one of those guys in a tournament. The ownership will absolutely be lower. The upside, in my opinion, is absolutely higher. The minutes tend to be a little bit less, but you get some immediate correlation over the people who do go that way. So, yes, I'd much rather play Bert.
All right. Let me get over to Super Draft.
Okay, Bert.
Super Draft got a bunch of room in their contests, but I'm going to talk about them at the expense of my contest. So here we go. Looking at some of our pricing. There is no pricing on Super Draft. It's position restriction and multipliers. If your name is
Tell me more, Emac.
Awesemo Baker, and you do projections that are available, 50% off any 1-week package with Live Before Lock as your promo code, all one word. Christian Wood is your top play at a 1.55 multiplier. LeBron James is 2 at 1.15.
Yeah, because again, you can catch the brown not sitting. Yep. 1.15 is gross. Gross.
Andrew Wiggins, 1.55.
Yeah.
Zion 1.55.
All these guys are going to be very owned.
Beal 1.05. At what point do you start wanting to go away from Beal? We have him in our top 7 projected guys.
Yeah, that's
Damian Lee 1.75. These are some plays, Eddie. That's where I would play Damian Lee, even if Poole's back. What is your Harry Giles projection for like DK fantasy point? And then we'll add 85% to it because that's the kicker.
Yeah, it's not going to be good enough. There's no way it's good enough for me. I am at 28, which is more than I would have thought I had meant. So adding 85% to 28 is, oh God.
It doesn't do it. It doesn't get them into that magic.
It's going to be like 52.
But there is a 4-game slate here, so I guess that is fair. And if Davis is out, that leaves knocks out one guy that really has decent upside / floor.
What do I feel about Melly? He's tough to project. Got a good bit of time last time. If you go back and I didn't really. It's too late now to talk about the Lakers and the Pellies. We just saw this recently, and this is their fourth and final meeting this year. Favors missed the first one. Played the second one, was very good. Played, I believe, what was his most minutes on the year, maybe most minutes not overtime, but played 34 minutes and had 15, 14, and 4 blocks. You can understand needing some extra time out of him. Brow being out would end up being a little bit of a negative for him, not a huge one, but they played when they played again, he only played 24 minutes and had 15 fantasy points. Was thoroughly uninspiring, which is a little bit more likely. But as we just saw last night with Valanciunas, there is rebounding, another upside against this Lakers team sometimes. So I guess my point is I would have a group with Melly and Favors, though they do play next to each other some. That's not. But I guess my net comment on Melly would be it's 4-game slate, so he'd be in play for me. He's not someone I would specifically target because your goal for him is to find a game where he's playing good bits of center. And that's unlikely here. So like I need, and I think they even run a 3-center rotation here. I think you actually see some Jackson Hayes, and that's fine because Melly will play some at the 4, but I really want to find a matchup where he's going to play some at like the 4 and the 5 and a little bit more where I think they're more inclined. I like him in matchups where they go small, I guess is my point. That's fairly unlikely here. You will probably get 48 minutes at center of either Dwight Howard McGee and Anthony Davis, or just Dwight Howard and McGee if Anthony Davis is out. So I imagine Favors gets his normal time. So it's not really a Melly night for me, but 4-game slate, I'd have some. That's my Melly take.
All right. What would you do with Brandon Ingram?
Am I crazy playing Tony Snell 100% GPP? Yes.
Yes.
Very rarely will I turn to someone and say, that's a horrible idea. That is a horrible idea. Don't do that to yourself. Find a local charity and just give them the money. Don't. Tony Snell is one of the worst. Like, there are people who have trouble finding an upside. Dude is on that list. Like, he is. What am I?
He is a poor man's Dragon Bender.
He is half. Oh, the Dragon Bender is much better because he'll actually. Like, he is. Dragon Bender is better. Gary Harris is much better than Tony Snell as far as like a GPP guy hunting an upside. Don't do that. Save yourself. Save all of us.
All right. Crap. Now I gotta make my lineups. These are never
Seriously,
fun.
if you ask me, I bet Tony Snell has a good game this year, but he has to be under 25 fantasy points. I'll guess every game this year, but 2 or something like that. 3. You have 100% Jeremy Grant. Have you drank too much whiskey? No, I think you're fine. It ends up being a little site dependent. FanDuel, I would divest that a little bit simply because there's so many good power forwards who are at very good prices, and I like the GPP shots at Kuzma and the other guys we've discussed. But can we play Henson and Wood in the same lineup on DK? You can. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I'm especially on a 4-game slate, but even on like a 9 or 10-game slate, I'm rarely going to look at $3,800 guy and another guy and say you can't play them together. Maybe if they were strict backups, but they're both starting, so they are not strict backups. So yes, go with guy.
Right. Fantasy draft or Super Draft still has 30% vacancy in their contest. Jump on in there, guys.
7 minutes to go. That's very relevant. So since everything I say is supposed to help you guys make money, if you have a Super Draft account or think you can make one really, really quickly, get yourself over there and get some 30% unfilled Super Draft. That sounds particularly delicious.
Thomas Bryant, thoughts?
Yeah, he's the guy I'd have some interest in. That's a good thought. Matchup is brilliant. 3,600 whatsoever. I have plenty of issue there. I probably, at this point, with Wood and Thon out, might rather go there than say I was just thinking of something else. Then John Henson. I might rather play Thomas Bryant in one GPP lineup. Carries a real upside. Just has to get you 30 to maybe be the guy who gets it done there. So not terribly likely, but I would have some John Henson. I rank him highest of the centers on that team tonight. Mo Wagner repeatedly getting the minutes kick. Only played, I want to say, some 7 minutes in that last game. I don't mind getting to Mahinmi either, who is like 3,200 and starting. This is a matchup in which, he can hit his limited upside. So, him getting the minutes there. So I probably slightly prefer Mahinmi, but don't mind Brian either. So Mahinmi and Brian as value Washington centers works for me.
Any thoughts on Ish Smith for the 2-game
chance
slate?
Eddie could elaborate on the DD ranking he gave him? I'd love to, but I don't know who him is.
The double?
I really don't.
Did you give?
I don't give many people DD rankings, so there's probably 2 or 3 in the rankings, but I don't have time to scan for it. So whoever typed that question, and if you could repeat it, I'd happily answer it. I like Danny Green quite a bit. Danny Green is the best. Gets a very real cookie if Anthony Davis is out. $3,100 on DK is exceptional. Generally will like him better, all else being even, than, say, Avery Bradley and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I don't know how high he gets owned, especially missing a game yesterday. But I expect him to be 100% good, so I like that quite a bit.
All right. Do you like Wagner, Bender?
No Wagner. I imagine I mean, look at ownership one last time and go down. I imagine Bender will still be like some single digit owned. So Lots of guys are single digit owned. I do not like Bender. There are guys at his price who are going to be lower owned and just as good. We currently have Dragon Bender. I'm gonna guess like somewhere in like 2%. It's gonna be low. 0.3%. Okay. Well, I will still like him less than other guys. I would probably rather play Juan Toscano Anderson, who we have at I believe 0.5%. Oh no, I'm on DraftKings somehow. That's gonna change things a little bit. Because there is at the possession. Yeah, we have them at still 2%. So I probably would not play personally any Dragon Bender, but I have to rank him, even though that's supposed to be who I would play personally because I'd rather get there. But I'd rather play Danny Green, Jan Mahinmi, Thomas Bryant, John Henson. Like, he'd be down the list for me. But it's Washington.
How much over the field would you want to be on John Henson at 20% right now?
I wouldn't want to be over the field at John Henson at 20% right now.
Okay. Let's see, Christian Wood's coming in at 20. Do you want to go above that? These are DK.
Yeah, just 1 second here. I'm really curious about our current projected ownership on Michael Porter Jr.
It's pretty high.
Yeah. We have him as the highest projected player on the slate. I would, if he's going to be 55% owned, I would play 0. I like the thing with Millsap out. That's nice. That helps. I'm not sure it gets more than 17, 18 minutes, and he's playing the Raptors. Like, if that number is vaguely in the realm of accurate, I would have 0. Not. I think an appropriate ownership for him would be 15%. He's triple what would be any reasonable ownership, and there's plenty of other good value in the mid to high threes. I would play literally anyone else at this point than him if he's going to be that on. That's a absurd figure.
Bradley or Plumlee, last guy in DK?
Not knowing anything else about your team, it's DK. I will take Bradley because it gives me infinite pivots, and that's a leak. So I would take Bradley and leave the spot open and hopefully make adjustments to something better.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to get my low.
I understand. I'll keep looking at questions here. AD at 1.05 or Ingram 1.35 or Bertans 1.06. I would play either of the non-Anthony Davis players because I do not believe Anthony Davis plays unless I missed some news that came out in the last minute. Other than that, I would not play Anthony Davis, as I think it is greater than 50% chance he does not play tonight. Looking around for questions. Avery Bradley or Mason Plumlee. We just did that one. What's the MPJ ownership? It currently says 55%.
How do you feel about Lonzo Ball?
I would have him above Drew Holiday of the 4 primary starters for the Pelicans. It's 4-game slate. You can get there, but revenge aside and other things, I like him more than Drew, but at his price, I would rather have Ingram than Zion, then Lonzo, then Drew, is how I look at him here.
What does Boban think tonight?
What does Boban think tonight? He thinks my wife and daughter are supposed to know I'm on the air and they're supposed to be controlling him so that the shit doesn't happen. That's what he thinks tonight.
All right. We have 2 minutes left. Your friends at Superdraft would like you to know there's 500 spots left in this tournament, guys. That is pretty hefty.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's 450 now. That's going to overlay. It's actual overlay. I've got too many tabs open. Where's my team?
Looking around for news. Harry Giles or Jeremy Grant. I would play Jeremy Grant in cash. I would look at their ownerships. I imagine I would have them pretty similar. So I'll probably barely play Grant in cash and Giles in tournaments. But yeah, apparently I'm a much bigger fan of Jeremy Grant and a much smaller fan of, and we're going to have that ownership. So, yeah.
All right, sorry, I got 1 minute left to get these in.
Okay.
Let's do some sorting.
I'm just looking around at news while I sit here right now.
Oh, I lucked out. There's a Norman Powell lineup near the top, which is who I'm going to put into my Red Van Elite contest.
You feel bad fading Brandon Knight. You should never feel bad fading Brandon Knight. If Christian Wood had been out, I could understand feeling bad in that situation. with Christian Wood and like now some of the usage is gone again, and I would feel bad if I faded Derrick Rose. If I had no Derrick Rose, I'd be like, oh, that's sad.
All right, got my lineups in with 22 seconds to spare. That is helpful.
Ingram is a lock. Someone said I would not go that far.
Ingram is good. Ingram's going to get lost in the shuffle, but there's still a lot of better plays than Ingram.
I don't know about a lot of better plays than Ingram.
I like him at 79 on DK. Can you play Brandon Knight and DK Cash? Sure, I would.
I would not.
Okay, and this is the 41 is hard. You might find better plays. We just hit lock.
It's not just that. It's cash. Like floor is a very relevant thing. Neither his minutes nor his production are necessarily.
I'm going with 24 to 25 minutes for him. What did you go with?
I think I have him at 25. I think, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I like the GPP upside, but I had him as a C in cash, meaning like I would see him in a cash thing and think, all right, it's not the worst thing ever, but I wouldn't advise him. That number seems a little. I would rather play Zv in cash, and I don't want to play Zv when I can avoid it. But I would rather play Svi Mikhailiuk in cash than him, and that's something.
All right.
Just the floor is even less secure than Svi's, who's very shot dependent, but at least the minutes are a little more secure. You save some money you could spend somewhere else. So, yeah, that's about how I'd look at that.
All right. The Super Draft went off at 18% unfilled, which gets you 54 cents on each entry that you put in. That is value. Of course, we do have to monetize that, but that is where we land. Oh, wow. I don't have anybody in the early two games. Yikes.
Anybody in the early two games?
Well, for my one lineup on Super Draft.
Yeah. I'm not thinking of anyone who seemed immediately brilliant.
I've got Bradley Beal at 1.05. I know we disagree a little bit on this, but Damian Lee at 1.75. I've got Lonzo Ball at 1.45.
I mean, it's the Wizards.
Yeah.
And like the time I like him a little more. Like we don't really disagree on that. And my theory was he could end up being fairly chalky on, say, DraftKings or FanDuel because it locks early, for good reason. If we expect Poole to come back and play, I suspect he's a little bit overowned. I don't think it's a bad play. He's playing the Wizards, and he's out there to shoot. So
let's see.
Oh, you downloading the thing?
Yep.
We got half the slate ready to go here.
We do have 50% of slate. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Hit it, Rockapella. You have the $300,000 tournament tonight. How much do you think goes to first?
I'm gonna guess 100,000.
Yeah, that feels like a little egregious.
Does it?
Well,
which again, it's as a brief teaching moment. I talk about the need to. You have to prioritize being able to win. Obviously, any lineup can win, but there are lineup constructions that are more likely to win. An interesting factoid is that the DFS players who win the most in GPPs are not the most profitable players. If you're prioritizing, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that, cash the most. I almost guarantee you if you somehow segmented out the percentage people cash the most, people who cash less frequently probably win more at the highest level. It's not that the people who cash the most wouldn't be very profitable player, but the most profitable players probably take slightly better ownership stands, leading them to cash a little bit less and be more profitable in the long term because, yeah, it's $100,000 of $300,000 to first place. Putting it this way, and this is sort of a gross approximation, if you remove your ability to win alone, win is one thing, win alone as in unique enough structure that you're not sharing with six people. There's like a 50% rake. Like that tournament is going to take in about $350,000, I would think, at the standard rake amount. Probably a little less, $345,000 or something like that. And it's going to give $145,000 of that to rake and first place. So if you are just playing for every other place but first place, so however many 20-odd thousand entries that is, they're going to all be raked at whatever that works out to be, 44% or some absolutely absurd figure. So yeah, that's.
Do you want to guess what 10th place gets?
$1,000.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah. So, like, even if you're like, dude, I made top 10.
Yeah.
A lot of good that did you?
Yeah. All right. Who do you think is the most popular player on DraftKings in said contest that we have just knocked around? Oh, this is going to be a good one, actually, Eddie. Not this pick.
Again, you're giving me cues again.
Not
you're
this pick,
clues.
but the contest in general.
All right. Now, I have one piece of information because before I closed the chat, I saw Jeremy Grant is 38% owned. Now, I don't know what contest he made, but he said Jeremy Grant's 38% owned on DK. I would be surprised if that was not very close to the top, if not the top. I don't think Michael Porter Jr. gets. I don't think there's any way that's. I like. That would require some inclination of his game that is entirely different from mine. But I can't imagine he's. If he's 30%, I'll be flabbergasted. That just does not math out for me. And like, I like Michael Porter Jr., but I would now have him at like 22 minutes and 19 fantasy points. He's playing Toronto. Like on the, I don't see that. So it feels weird because, so I'm trying to think who else could get up there with Jeremy Grant. And it's like Christian Wood. Norman Powell was really cheap on DK. I'll say Christian Wood is the most owned player.
Christian Wood is not the most owned player.
Okay, then I'll say Jeremy Grant.
It is Jeremy Grant.
Okay, at 38, was that correct?
At 38, yes.
Okay, that's all I knew. But full disclosure, I wanted to get that out there. I'm not going to guess at it. Then is Christian Wood number 2?
He is not.
Try Norman Powell.
He is.
Okay, 34. 37. Okay, so those were very tight. Is Christian Wood number 3?
He is.
Okay. But to react, by the way, Jeremy Grant, 38%. That's more than I would want. I liked him a lot, but it's all about ownership at the end of the day. And I was, a lot of my praise for him was before the news broke he would necessarily start in that whole thing. So 38 in tournaments is more than I would want to have. It's still Jeremy Grant. Norman Powell, 37 in tournaments is more than I would want to have. Although these are 4-game slates, so not all your ownership is obviously condensed. Christian Wood feels about right. And did you say what ownership he is?
I did not. He is 26.7. Oh, for those that are giving me crap in chat because my eyes are... I have eye problems, so I have to use a lot of eye drops. That's why you think I'm drunk right now and my eyes are red. Sadly, I'm not. I wish I was,
and
though.
For the people who said my hair has looked really good 2 days in a row, I try to pretty up for EMAC. I hope...
I'm wearing my Sunday Funday shirt, or some would say the Sunday Finest.
I'm wearing my Take That for Dad a Grizzlies shirt under my Stay Warm sweatshirt here. But I hope, it's been years in anticipation, longing, unrequited love. But I hope one of these days our eyes will meet across the Zoom meeting room. Hope springs eternal. Okay. So we're up to what? Wood at 3?
Wood is 3. 26.75.
Derrick Rose.
You are good at this.
It is Derrick Rose?
It is. You are good at this, yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering how long I can keep fading the Michael Porter Jr. chalk. Rose, 25. I don't know.
Yep, 24.5.
Jokic?
He is not next.
Rondé Hollis Jefferson?
He is not next.
Michael Porter Jr.?
He is next.
Okay.
Very tight grouping with them. And so Michael Porter, Jokic, Siakam, and Rondé Hollis Jefferson are all between 20.5 and 24. John Henson, did you want to be over or under 20%?
Probably a little under, but that's...
Because he's 19.99.
in a party like that number. The like you asked, I think we had him projected at 21. Nice job ownership again there. You got several of those very close. Yeah, that's closer to better. Like I feel like in a vacuum, like 18 is ideal. So clearly it's not that precise of a science. So that's a fine number. Who else comes up? I'm tired. I'll let you.
Brandon Knight at 19.9. De'Aaron Fox.
That's a little high. Like I like Brandon Knight, but at $4,100, which
the
is
36 and 10 on FanDuel and Yahoo were better.
Yeah. And it's the matchup is good, but like lots of teams have good, like, it's one of the things you have to realize is like, well, this matchup is good. Basically everyone, but like arguably 5 of the 8 teams have very good matchups today. So, that doesn't matter a lot for me. And he's just not a consistent guy. So it's like Cam Reddish at $4,100 was very popular yesterday in a much better matchup than this one. And the same theory was, well, he is still Cam Reddish. Now he got the start again. He got hurt. He was going to be just fine, though he may have been the worst of the 5 Hawk starters still. Might have beat out Hunter, but a point being, I like Brandon Knight. They do have a paucity of NBA talent at guard right now. I liked the shots we saw out of him last game, but it's still Brandon Knight who shouldn't really creep into chalky. He's one of those guys that I'm really like taking shots at when I think the minutes are going to be there, and he's 7% owned. We've done that a couple times this year. 20% Brandon Knight, even on a 4-game slate, is probably not going to be right real often to me.
Dan T is excited to think I'm boozing. I have to do a podcast later, and I got to go to work on tomorrow morning. Yeah. I'm old. I had a nice little margarita last night and then 2 beers. I can't booze anymore. I used to be a hard charger. No longer. Those days have passed. Jordan McRae, 0.14. Paul Millsap.
All kinds of was out of the rotation. Now I guess he did play 2 minutes in the last blowout or something.
Yeah.
Now literally not on the team. So no.
Paul Millsap, 0.12. Serge Ibaka, 0.1. Fred VanVleet, 0.08. Marvin Bagley, 0.04.
They're destroying our city.
Bruce Brown, 0.01. O'Shea Brissett, 0.01. Did we decide?
O'Shea is fine. You can have O'Shea. That's
Anthony
okay.
Tolliver, 0.02. Has he played recently?
He is finalizing a buyout. I do not know if he is actually technically on the roster. I would have to send that to the panel of Did You Play Yourself judges.
All right. Noah Vonleh, Rashawn Holmes, Luke Kennard, and Thon McCurr were not unowned, but they're 0.00, so they're in something. You would like to see a drunk EMAC and Fast Eddie Fair podcast. Eddie doesn't drink very often. I think
I'm on the wagon. My misspent days of youth.
Yeah.
I'm a bad recovering alcoholic in that I don't completely eschew it. But really depressing days or holidays. On most days we dip once. I will occasionally imbibe, but I am not by and large a drinker. I don't particularly enjoy the taste of, for example, beer. Now I've won a beer drinking contest. I like contests. How many of these things can you shove in? You're like, I'll go for any contest. I do not enjoy beer as a generality. But I enjoy hard liquor, perhaps a little too much, some might say. So I stay off that one. Oh, I wanted to mention yesterday, you and I did quite a bit of Coming to America yesterday, and I cannot believe I did not at any point get to. Now this young man you might recognize as the night patrolman from the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackson Heights' own Mr. Randy Watson. I can't believe I did not get to that one because I used to do that all the time while introducing various NBA players who had names similar to Randy Watson. That was something I did quite frequently. So that one needs to happen.
Oh, that's good.
And then that leads to Reverend Brown. Reverend Brown. This man's been my reverend since I was a very little boy, and I love him very much. And while y'all in the clapping mood, why don't you give yourselves a hand? You're so lovely.
Who played more characters in that one?
Now we're having fun. Okay, who played more characters? All right, so you have the barbershop.
The barbershop was wild because when I saw it in the theater, I knew a couple of them were Eddie, but I didn't realize all of them were.
They're not all Eddie.
No. I'm sorry. I didn't realize so many were.
2 are in the barbershop. Eddie Murphy is
3.
No, 2 are Eddie Murphy. 1 is Arsenio Hall. 1 is Howard Clint, some guy. 1 is not them. 1 is another actor. I cannot pick up his name. I should know this from just having seen the movie 4 times in the credits or whatever. I cannot pick it up. Not terribly relevant, but is guy. Eddie Murphy is Jewish guy. Yes. Oh, what is this? Velvet? This is beautiful. That's Eddie Murphy. And
Eddie Murphy plays.
That's all cursing, so I'm pulling that one out. And I was walking down the street, and I ran into somebody, pinched me right in my face. I said, "You know what it was? Martin Luther King." I said, "Dr. King," and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was someone else." Man, you lying.
They each play 4.
Why did you spoil that for me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I was having
not
much
in that
fun.
scene.
I was going to do all the impressions and go through all of them. You're such a killjoy. I was going to do the whole movie at the house. Man, you lying. You ain't never met Martin Luther the King. That's the other actor. I don't remember his name, but yes, thank you, Fred. That is coming to America. If you haven't seen it, it is one of the best comedy films ever created. 1987, give or take a year. Sequel coming out later this year. But just a sexual chocolate. They play so fine, don't you agree? I believe the children are our future. Thank you so much. Teach them well and let them see the way. Man, donation. I thought it was the trash basket. That is the Arsenio Hall character with the weirdly quacky pitched voice from both the church bit I was doing there and the barber shop. He ain't lying.
Clint Smith.
That's Arsenio Hall. Sorry?
Clint Smith.
Clint Smith is the name of the fourth actor in the barber. The four roles for them is, so the two in the barber shop, obviously Prince Akeem of Zamunda, and the last one for Eddie Murphy is Randy Watson there. Yep. Randy Watson, I believe it is the name. I'm making sure there are no other Eddie Murphy roles. I'm hoping you missed one and I can really go off here because I was just going to go through the film and that's Trading Places. I can't use that one. I think that is it. And I'm really angry at you right now, Evan.
I'm sorry.
I am not sending you a Thanksgiving ham. That is. And so Arsenio is Guy in the barbershop. I have no idea if that character's name is ever revealed, but he's Guy in the barbershop. He is semi-assistant to Prince Akeem. He is drag queen in the bar is him. He sits there and
extremely ugly girl. He's actually hitting
ugly
on
girl
him
like,
and Eddie in that one.
There's a split screen. It's not split screen actually. It's camera back and forth, shoulder over shoulder with him and Eddie. Was like, I've been looking you all night. Now I want to tear you apart.
Arsenio's face when he does the
and your friend too. And then I think Arsenio actually spit takes there. I think Arsenio.
He might.
I think he actually spit takes there. So that's
spit takes don't happen very much anymore.
Which is a shame. A good spit take does everything. And then final Arsenio Hall role in that is, it will appear at some point to me. Reverend Brown.
Yes, you are correct.
No, it's 4 each. You got me. We can segue into the roles, played in Doctor Strangelove or however. But anyway, can I do the rap from the club? I can do the rap from the club. My name is Peaches, and I'm the best. All the DJs want to feel my breast. Pick up. I got that one. Go ahead. Give me another one. I'll run this shit.
I got.
No, not. It's not his mama named him Cassius. I'm gonna call him Cassius. It's his mama named Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. Right there. Go ahead. We can do this shit all day. This or the West Wing or various other pieces of pop culture. I have a somewhat encyclopedic knowledge. This is what I have in exchange for.
I used to know the Doctor Strangelove ticking off all of the things in the survival bag.
So, yes, so good, so good. That film, by the way, is one of the most remarkably ahead of its time piece of pop culture ever created. That film, written in '62, filmed in '63, is remarkably topical and hilarious. If you have not seen it, Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb is mandatory. The Sterling Hayden scene with Peter Sellers, I deny them my vital essence. Yeah, there's that film is goddamn Kubrick. Anything. Kubrick's worst film is like I don't know, Barry Lyndon. I don't even know where you go with their Eyes Wide Shut if you're critical of that one. Stanley Kubrick, dear God, if you get bored and want to go into a great rabbit hole sometime, go read up on symbolism and hidden messages in I don't know, The Shining or something else on YouTube.
Clockwork Orange.
Or it's all like, holy shit! Like I'm a giant, conceited, supercilious, verbose douche. So I go into a movie going, this movie ain't gonna get nothing over on me. I'm gonna see every little thing they try to hide. And I'd watched all these films like 4 times, and then I go watch people who are like, did you notice this? I'm like, I really didn't. Did you notice this? I'm like, well, I really did not. So.
Did you know that Malcolm McDowell, that was just the 5th film he had been in, technically.
Yeah, still very young at that time, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, A Clockwork Orange is. I think The Shining will be my personal favorite because there's just so much going on. The more times you see it, but that is a. You see, today I'm washing lettuce. And it's not I'll be on fries then the grill. I think that line is. You see, I'm washing lettuce, and it ends with I don't have the whole line. Then move the grill. In a couple of years, I'll be assistant manager. And then puts his arm around him and goes, around Eddie Murphy and goes, and that's when the big bucks start rolling in. And Eddie Murphy, who has been trying to convince Arsenio Hall not to like go back to Africa and leave, goes, really, only 2 years. And that's, but I don't quite have that whole line. That's going. And you're right around. I think this now immediately leads to your Samuel L. Jackson, quite possibly first role in a film, comes in as the robber, who is credited as something like robber with shotgun or something, comes in and I've avoided several quotes on this show. If you're watching, Tom, if I read all the quotes I wanted to from this film, I'd have been about 17 F-bombs in, but I've avoided them all, so I can't do much of the Samuel L. Jackson. But he comes in with the shotgun, and then Eddie Murphy disarms him with the untwist the mop handle pull and please refrain from using any additional profanity in the presence of these people. Yeah. And then John Amos says the most politically.
I didn't realize he was in Coming to America.
Oh, he's the stick-up man with the shotgun. That's it. He's in one scene, 90 seconds. That may be his debut. If not, it's very close to it. You know Lawrence Fishburne's debut?
Apocalypse Now?
Apocalypse Now. Very good. On the boat. He was like 15 or 16 when that film was filmed. He lied about his age to get in that movie.
Yeah, that film took 3 years. I think what was his character?
And killed many people and gave some heart attacks and more Kubrick stuff there.
Yeah.
Pistons beating Kings 18-1. Eric LaSalle throws a milkshake on him. That is underrated funny. Yeah. I could sing the Soul Glow song too if I want to go
Who's the white comedian that works at the burger shop?
Louis Anderson.
Louis Anderson. God, I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah, that's
for those of you wondering if I'm looking at I'm not looking at this stuff. I'm
not looking at anything. I'm on top of my heading all this. The best line, and he kind
of had reddish hair and he looked young, and he was in other stuff later.
And I do not have memorized what I should have memorized as the best line in this, which is, he tries to get close to his boss, again played by the underrated John Amos. So Eddie Murphy comes into his office and goes, "Sir, did you happen to see the professional football contest on TV last night?" And John Amos is like, "No, I missed it." He's like, "Oh, it was most gripping. The Giants of Green Bay defeated the Packers, or the Giants of New York defeated the Packers of Green Bay when someone kicked an oblong pigskin through an upright H." Is the that's a great line. I got to memorize that one. And then there's yes, in the face. What are you doing? It's halftime.
Oh, Cornbread Earl and Me. Chad is saying was Fishburne's debut. I remember that movie, but I don't remember the character.
Oh, really? I stand corrected there.
I've only seen it once or twice, but I do.
Jim Carrey's first movie, Earth Girls Are Easy,
with Cyndi Lauper.
I will sit here and do trivia.
Just sing the song?
I will pay you to sit here and ask you, like, let me just, I will donate some money to a good charity if we could just sit here and do this all day. I will.
Cowboy Bob.
Cornbread Earl and Me. There you go.
Who had better hair, Cowboy Bob, played by Lawrence, not Larry, but Lawrence Fishburne, or Eric LaSalle with the Soul Glow?
Really tough.
I was jealous of both of them. My locks were not that luxurious, and they were very straight. So.
Love at First Bite? Was that the Jim Carrey first movie? I want to say it was Earth Girls Are Easy. That's what I went with. But
it could be Love at First Bite, actually.
Yeah, that's.
I'm looking that one up. I remember that like trivia. I remember that potentially.
Coming to America is so good though. There's so many. Like I keep thinking about. There's so many underrated scenes at the beginning. Yeah. Lick the sweat from a baboon's balls. Like there's so much. So good.
I look at. Jim Carrey was in Peggy Sue Got Married?
Yeah, I knew that.
I also did not know he was in the Deadpool.
Yep, I knew that too.
Those were both before Earth Girls Are Easy.
Oh, I thought at least Peggy Sue.
They came out 2 years after Deadpool. Yeah, so Peggy Sue was 86, Deadpool was 88, Earth Girls Are Easy was 88. Pink Cadillac? I don't remember him in that.
I don't remember that.
He's a lounge entertainer.
Once Bitten, really good. OG going bonkers? Of course he is.
Yeah, well.
Of course he is.
Welcome to the world of stocks.
Yeah, well, that's how
Blues Brothers. Oh God, Blues Brothers, amazing movie.
We're on a mission from Gad.
Yeah. I used to know that whatever we have 3 gallons of gas, blah blah blah, half pack cigarettes, and wearing sunglasses, and it's dark out. Hit it.
Yeah. No, you basically had it. It's a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes, I think.
Okay.
You got it. All the King starters pulled. Perfect. I can't believe OG is going off. Of course. Like, I just savaged him. That's really unlucky.
Aretha Franklin in Blues Brothers.
Sure.
It's absolutely amazing. What did he order? 4 whole chickens? And the other guy
two burnt pieces of toast.
Toast and a Diet Coke? That's Jake. That's Elwin.
Carrie Fisher.
It's the Blues Brothers.
The Blues Brother. Cab Calloway. That man. Cab Calloway was really the shit.
Minnie the Moocher, baby.
Minnie the Moocher. God. I love.
Heidi.
Yeah.
Last one. Who sang Old Man River? Showboat. The original. Old Man River.
I know the tune. I don't have it. I will say Gene Autry with no confidence.
Paul Robeson.
Okay. I know who that is. Something.
I know that.
Snell with 2 assists and a block already. Okay. That's like 5 fantasy points.
He will now play 17 more minutes without a single stat.
He might be the. So again, we played the TJ Leaf game.
Hit that like button. You last 400 people that are in here. Let's get up to 200. We just need 13 more. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. We're working for free in here. Anyway, and I use the words working very loosely at this point. So we had this one time where, not unlike OG Anunoby, although far worse, TJ Leaf was going to be chalky because he was going to get a lot of time in a game. But it wasn't a great matchup, and I was like, I'm not playing any. 0-0-0 when he had the game of his life, which meant 30 fantasy points. But he was good, if not great. And I was periscoping that night, and I arranged a game where I said, all right, you guys can go until you get 3 misses. You're all on your honor. Name players who have played at least as many minutes as TJ Leaf has in the NBA, but have averaged fewer fantasy points. And each one you can do it, I will give $10 to. I think I did. And they went a while, and I'm sure some people were cheating, but it was kind of fun. And we gave away a couple bucks. But the Tony Snell might have been the nut high. I don't know if you can come up with a player who had played more than the required, I think it was at the time 800 or 900 minutes in the NBA, and scored fewer fantasy points than Tony Snell per minute. He might have been the nut low. So
they want to know about Porky's, or as I like to refer to it, the greatest trilogy of all time.
I've seen all the Porky's.
You tell Porky the boys from Angel Beach are here.
I remember that. I don't have Uncle Buck is very good. 80s.
Uncle
I mean,
here's a quarter. Go down to the wharf.
Yeah, I mean the 80s are like, you have the Eddie Murphy films, you have Caddyshack, you have Ghostbusters, you have Stripes, you have, I mean, like there's a hell of a
Meatballs.
Meatball, yeah, but that's like a tear down. Like, I don't mind Porky's. These other films, many of which are like comedic genius. Porky's is 15 years earlier American Pie.
The guys are 35 and playing high school students.
Yeah,
it was worse than Happy Days.
Yeah. Animal House, same.
Classic.
Yeah.
Hallowed ground now, Eddie.
Trading Places is probably, Trading Places and Coming to America are the pinnacle of the Eddie
It
Murphy.
was the Dukes. It was the Dukes.
It was not me. It was the Dukes.
Yeah.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Very good. Oh, Zapped. Scott Baio and... Oh, God, was it the other guy that was in Charles in Charge, wasn't it? The curly hair.
I don't know what film you're referring to, even
Eddie.
by reference.
How do you not know? It's Scott Baio with telekinesis.
Someone's saying OG Chalk again, Unreal. OG was heavily owned? I can't. OG Anunoby was 7% owned. Okay, that's
Willie Ames.
I'd have hated him less at 7%. I thought it would be like 12 or 14, but okay.
Heather Thomas. Yeah,
The
Scott
Jerk.
Baio, Willie Ames. Good
I was born a poor young black man.
Midnight
Black
Run.
Child.
That's a good one.
Sure.
Midnight Run is so incredibly underrated.
True. Henson already at 20.
Broadcast News.
Sure. I think these are all like second tier, but
Three Amigos.
I need to go back into Three Amigos. That's not 1990. That doesn't get to 1990.
I don't know. I'm just reading chat at the moment.
Okay, yeah, Three Amigos is
Animal House was the 70s, yeah, but it got onto cable.
Animal House wasn't Animal House.
I want to say it was 79.
I thought it was 1980, but who gives a shit? Back to the Future, best 80s movie.
Animal House 78.
78. First movie I saw in the theater was Back to the Future. Harlem Nights, again, a tier down, but
yeah,
very, very good. I mean, Red Fox and frickin' Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy.
It's the big one.
You got me, Elizabeth. Yeah, I'm coming to see you.
Brewster's Millions, that was a good movie.
Brewster's Millions, yeah. Jackie Gleason, etc.
All right, the porn bots are here, so we're gonna sign off. With that, you can follow Eddie at Fast Eddie Fair on Twitter. I am at EmacDFS for the 300 of you left. Check out the pinned tweet at Awesemo_COM to find out about the special podcast giveaways. Like, rate, and review our podcast for a chance for every day to win 30 days of Awesemo premium content.